at that time I remember growing up in angst, like ये क्या घर है, मतलब इस छोटे से घर में हम लोग 7 लोग रह रहे हैं. And then I had like मैं बड़ा होऊंगा तो मेरे को 3 BHK लेके ही रहूँगा. And so that was the sense of ambition that I started getting when I was closer to my 12th standard. At that time there was this narrative, I don't remember who gave it to me, but there was this narrative that you should take engineering, you should take mechanical engineering because it's the evergreen field. Given my background, my academic background and the years of experience that I had, I was obviously gung-ho about FMCG and I want to crack FMCG, but I ended up getting no calls, and Setmax was the only one ki like jo bhi bacche hain sabko bula lo. And that was the one I was able to crack. So it was more, it wasn't by choice, it was the only option that I had.
Performance marketing, e-commerce marketing, content marketing. Is this the world that you see yourself in? If you dream to work in these roles at Hindustan Unilever Limited, here's your chance. Apply to Altiuni's certificate program in digital marketing with HUL. The participants achieved a return of 12 times the investment with an 80% average salary hike. Hurry up! Apply now to the program from the link in the description. Limited seats available.
Lakshmanan, you are Tambram boy who was forced to learn music as a kid. Your parents, I think, were working in public sector banks. I think they expected you to do awesome things in life, go to IIT, maybe become a doctor or...
Not at all, actually.
Okay, so why don't you tell us about your early days?
Yeah, I think you got the Tambram part right. I had the exact opposite upbringing. My dad is this super chill person who himself has never been very, very career focused, career minded, he's always been happy. I've never seen him be unhappy or be angry. And he never really pushed me as well to get into IIT. In fact, I never knew what IIT was.
Actually, you never even knew what IIT was.
I didn't even take the JEE. I have not attempted JEE. So it was quite the opposite upbringing, and I was quite horrible at studies to the extent that I would barely pass my exams. Like one incident that I have is there used to be, like I went to a free school. My parents both were working in PSU banks and Bombay, you know, the rental space, in general, you can't afford high quality education for if you have more than 2 kids. So I went to a free school. So it was an English medium school, but most of the interactions used to happen in Hindi, and our professors were also, had a very, very high Hindi influence in their teaching. And I grew up like this boy who was just focused on chilling out, having fun, not good at academics. I managed to salvage some bits and pushed my 10th scores to 70% plus, which was a huge win for me. So I'm somebody who scored under 80 in my 10th boards and my 12th boards, never attempted IIT. So yeah, so that's what my education.
You're saying that you never had any real ambition of going to any good college or anything. It was just like enough to please your parents. It was not really about...
Not even to please my parents. I was actually quite clueless in the sense that just living in the moment, having fun. It was not till, I don't know, maybe just before my 12th standard, I guess. It was this time when my grandparents also moved in to live with us. And in Bombay, the houses, like the house where I grew up in was like a 400 square feet house. It was a house full of love, so I'm really grateful for that. But at that time, I remember growing up in angst, like, ये क्या घर है, मतलब इस छोटे से घर में हम लोग 7 लोग रह रहे हैं. And then I had like, मैं बड़ा होऊंगा तो मेरे को 3 BHK लेके ही रहूँगा. And so that was the sense of ambition that I started getting when I was closer to my 12th standard.
That sounds like such a Bombay experience, you know, just lack of space pushes you to become ambitious. Engineering क्यों किया फिर? Like you could have done anything, right? Like because there was clearly no push from your parents. So you could have gotten into commerce, life would have been easier, you could have gone to arts. You anyway ended up hanging out with a lot of people who were more interested in those kinds of things. Like you also ended up becoming a musician at some point of time. Why did you take up engineering?
वो 3 BHK का गोल बैठ गया था, तो I was like, okay, what is the path to making money? And at that time, and I had already taken science. I was good at science and maths. Of all the things that I was horrible at, maths and science was something that I was very, very comfortable at, and I used to score well. So I had already taken science, and there were just two paths, which is medical and engineering. And at that time, there was this narrative. I don't remember who gave it to me, but there was this narrative that you should take engineering, you should take mechanical engineering because it's the evergreen field. And I really don't know what evergreen means. I'm still trying to figure out. I can vouch for the fact that it's definitely, my experience wasn't evergreen. The moment I landed up in my engineering college, which is also not one of the best in Bombay.
Oh, come on. So the engineering college that you went to has also given gems like Ritesh Deshmukh and Vicky Kaushal. So
Yes, I would give that there are people who pursued other professions and not engineering. But yeah, so the first day I went into the college, the way I chose my college was like, घर से सबसे पास कौन सा है? So it's like 15 minutes away, amazing. So I went into this college and I'm like, evergreen field, I'm all set to go. And then I go in and realize, first of all, engineering, you get a shock that already the gender ratio is extremely bad. And when I went into mechanical engineering, I see like it is 98:2. And I'm like, okay, there must be something evergreen about it. And then I kept waiting through my 4 years as to there'll be something evergreen in the course, in the curriculum. I used to see all my comp science friends sitting in AC rooms, working on computers, and I used to be on the lathe machine. So yeah, so I'm still yet to figure out. Any mechanical engineers out there, my heart goes out to you. I was so convinced onto that evergreen course that, you know, मुझे mechanical engineering में ही कुछ करना है. And when I remember there was placements, and because my college wasn't one of the best, the only hiring organizations at that time were TCS and Infosys. And I was so committed, I had that sunk cost fallacy deep within me that no, I want to get into a field which employs mechanical engineers only. And then I went and applied to various organizations. I went to Mahindra, I got rejected. And then I realized that, okay, my college wasn't that great. My education wasn't like that great. I might have scored decently well, but
was definitely not evergreen.
It was definitely not evergreen. But yeah, then I went to L&T, where I think even the person who was serving food was like, "Yaar, isko to kuch bhi nahi aata hai." And got rejected there again, and finally made it through to this company called Blue Star, which makes air conditioners. Yeah, and spent 2 years there. That was my start of my professional career.
Did you at that point think ke ab pura life mein, because your parents probably spent their entire careers in one bank, did you also think कि अभी Blue Star में धीरे धीरे ऊपर चढ़ूंगा तो फिर 3 BHK कभी ना कभी तो हो ही जाएगा reality, or did MBA, you know, occur to you in engineering itself?
So I went in with an open mind. I was happy that I was going into a job that was relevant to my education. I was put on the shop floor, and it lasted exactly 2 weeks. And I'm like, ये मुझसे नहीं हो पाएगा. And I went up to my boss and I'm like, I'm not cut out for this. I think the company was kind enough to offer me a role into sales कि मतलब यार ये sales तो कर लेगा. And
हाँ, मतलब इतना confidence है कि 2 week में आके बोल रहा है कि ये मेरे से नहीं होगा तो शायद sales तो कर पाएगा.
Yeah, I don't know what he saw in me, but yeah, I was put into sales, so I spent the first 2 years of my professional life doing sales. I pretty much enjoyed it. And more than sales, I enjoyed working closely with the marketing team. It always had this halo around it. The team was always making ads. They were meeting consumers. So I felt like, you know, I connected with that role. It always was a lot more glamorous. So that is when I felt like, acha, this seems like something that I can do. And the pathway to get there is probably an MBA. And that's where the whole MBA aspiration started from.
So before I come to the sales and the MBA part, do you feel like if mechanical engineering was taught better, or if there were companies in India that were doing really cutting edge work, maybe they are now, we don't even know things are happening right now. Do you think that you would have continued then in that field, or do you think that you were just never going to be a great engineer, making things?
I don't know how I can dissect the two. What was because of my own intent and aspiration versus what was the environment in which I learned. I can definitely say that the quality of education should definitely be better, and the environment in which you learn, the relevance to industry. Like we were learning things which were 20 years old and was completely archaic, not relevant at all. So, and that's, I feel, a fundamental problem, right? Like education doesn't keep pace with markets in general and jobs in general, and that's where there's this whole need of the skilling ecosystem to exist.
Yeah, no, fair enough. That's why even Altuni exists. But okay, why don't you tell us about some interesting Blue Star stories as an engineer who became a salesman, traveling in Mumbai locals. So tell us about those days.
Like all my life, I was always in this radius. I lived in Andheri. My school was in Andheri. My college was in Andheri. And this was the first time I had to go start working. And I had to take the trains, obviously, and had to be on time because pay gets deducted. It was like this regimented organization. I remember going to, like, the onward journey was still okay. While coming back, you had to board in Dadar station, and that used to be war. I'm pretty sure it still is. And that to me was like the experience that sort of molded me physically and mentally. More than my job, I would say I learned every day in that train. I think I got fitter. Every day was an exercise. I don't know which body part I'm going to work out, but I know that I will be working out some part. Some days it is just like holding on to one end of the chain, and then there's somebody just pushing you from the back, and then you realize that, oh, my chest is being worked out today. And some days it is just the nose because you have to hold your breath because there's an armpit right in front of you. So it is physical strength, mental strength, a lot of it. So I think I would credit the Mumbai locals to a lot of my first 2 years of professional journey.
To your grit.
Yes.
Did you find it hard to, because obviously you're not really exposed to a lot of communication during engineering days. So when you're going in front of clients and pitching Blue Star, like how did you upskill yourself, or how did you get better at that job? Because you said that you enjoyed it. So it means that you must have been doing well to have enjoyed it. So how was that journey of improvement like in those days?
So at the core of it, I figured out like a couple of things, right? B2B sales is more about people, connecting with people, understanding people well. And by nature of the industry I was in, I knew that the other person is also probably going to be a mechanical engineer. So bond with them on the evergreen field and try to get them know them better, know their requirements better. So that's where I got interested into insighting what users really want. While B2B is more standard, it's not as dynamic because it's a larger requirement from one specific
It's like a solution selling that you're doing.
Yes. But in general, I got interested in this space. I felt like it is something that would interest me because it is in a way understanding human behavior, and I felt connected with that.
Okay, so Fir, how did CAT happen? And how confident were you going into CAT? Were you always clear that you want to get into the IIMs? Again, a lot of people with that kind of an academic record that you had, which wasn't necessarily the brightest, would not even think of KR. So how did that happen to you?
Yeah, so the idea was to take CAT and not necessarily look at where I would get to. I actually gave one attempt in my first year. I scored 99 plus, but I think I didn't clear one of the sectionals, so I didn't get the calls. But I thought I'll take one more year and try it again. The next year, I cleared all the sectionals, and but still I knew that I would never get an ABC call because both my 10th and 12th were below 80. So I made the most of what calls I got, converted Indore, and yeah, spent 2 years at MBA.
At what time did you realize कि यार ये तो मैं अच्छे भी स्कूल फोड़ सकता हूँ? Like it must have been during a mock preparation because you waited one more year as well, right? Like otherwise, I'm sure even at 99 with a bad sectional cutoff, some B school you would have gotten admission quite well. So why did you not settle for something lower? Because this is a question that pura comment section में बहुत सारे time आते रहता है on various videos also, that how do you decide to wait and what is the criteria that you used? At least self-professed at that time an average from the traditional evaluation of a student, which is के 10th में कितना आया, 12th में कितना आया. How did you decide के नहीं boss, I deserve a better B school, or that I want to wait and I go? And you would have gotten confidence at some point of time, right? So when did that happen?
So when I was taking my mocks, I used to do quite well. I used to get 95 plus all the time. So I knew that I was in that zone. So एक chance मिला, तो I thought I will give a shot at the IIMs. The thing that happened with my sectionals is I got 99.99 in both quant and DI, and I got 35 percentile in verbal. And I knew that I wouldn't get any calls, so I just thought of, in fact, I didn't have a choice to apply.
So, okay, you enter MBA, and would you say that that was like a big boost to your career trajectory after that? Or do you think that even if you hadn't gotten into an IIM, your life would have still worked out fine?
Oh, absolutely. I think it was a life-changing moment. At least at that time, I was pretty sure that things work by pedigree. And just that stamp on the CV takes you places. Not that I advocate for it, but it was the truth.
So having said that, you're saying you weren't there in for the academics, but you still ended up kind of being second in the second year when nobody studies. Was it that just things became more interesting for you, or you found it more intellectually challenging? Because most people, everybody who comes here says that second year mein to chill hota hai, I don't study, whatever. But you did study actually.
I took interest in the courses. I took interest in the courses even the first year, but not really in it for the marks. I don't know what led to the standing second. I think it was luck. I would still attribute it to luck, because I don't think I changed anything in my outlook. It was just that a lot more people were completely chill about academics because it's not going to matter in placements.
And also you got an opportunity to go to France to present a project while you were doing your MBA. So what was that about?
So that was the consulting project that I got involved into. I think it was a great experience. It was run by this ex-McKinsey guy who had started this interesting concept that makes students who are anyway going to become consultants a year or two down the line, make them work on the slides, work on the decks, do the research. I think the concept was really good, and it was about the research in the EV markets in India, China, and Korea. It was way ahead of when EV adoption is starting now, but the research was all about that, and Renault was specifically interested in understanding all of this, and we made the deck, and they liked the presentation, and they wanted us to go there and present it to the R&D heads as to what features are more important. So the project was again in my area of interest, which is more related to users, behaviors, and it was in the field of EVs. I was always passionate about the environment, which is why I had applied to the knitting course as well. Yeah.
So you went to Setmax, and I think IPL was hosted on Setmax at that point of time. Although I don't think you were part of that team, but tell us about your internship at Sony. We were, I think, when we were sitting for summer placements, the 2008 crisis had just, like our senior batch across all the IIMs got the worst placements possible. And obviously when our summers were affected because of that. So there was, I think, a lot of insecurity in general amongst all batches. You went to Sony. Were you glad you got that opportunity? And how was your experience?
Given my background, my academic background and the years of experience that I had, I was obviously gung-ho about FMCG, and I want to crack FMCG. But I ended up getting no calls, and Setmax was the only one ki like, jo bhi bacche hain, sabko bula lo. And that was the one I was able to crack. So it was more, it wasn't by choice. It was the only option that I had. And I loved the experience. I felt like at that time it was about TV viewing, understanding behavior. I got really deep into quant research, qual research, understanding user preferences. And I had actually, very, very interestingly, I still have the deck with me. I had presented video on demand, things which are a reality now. And to be fair to them, they did mention that, you're thinking a little too ahead of the times. Ideas are good, but they should be in context to the times in which we live in, and hence I got rejected.
It's awesome, right? I mean, you got rejected, but it ended up working for you because then you did get a chance to get into FMCG after that. What were the couple of transformational courses that you did at IIM that changed things for you, which you feel like, wow, I attended 10 sessions and or 20 sessions, depending on the credits of the course, that wow, this is awesome. I loved what I learned here. Do you remember anything, and do you still use any of that in what you do, either at ITC or later on?
All the marketing visiting faculty, I think, was exceptional. We used to take feedback from our seniors as to who are the professors who are good, because the learning really happens when the professors are good and not necessarily the subjects. There was the quant research person, Prantosh Banerjee, whose course was like deeply inspirational for me. I got deeply involved into that subject. And then Professor Ramesh taught us FMCG marketing. I think that was also an exceptional course. Professor Rajesh Srivastava also was really amazing in the sphere of branding. So all of these were really exciting courses for me. And given that I was very clear that I wanted to get into marketing and FMCG, I focused all my energies in doing well in these courses.
So I think, again, during finals, at some point we realized that the Unilever was not visiting campus for finals. They had only taken up people via PPOs from the summers itself. Obviously, there weren't that many options. I remember even the placement committee once coming and saying that, finance consulting, and the thing is that final placements are actually quite good. Like almost everybody got very good offers, but they're like FMCG scene kuch theek nahi hai. Something of that sort I remember in the placement committee openly declaring. So were you anxious, and how important was it for you to then crack ITC? Because that was amongst the only 2 or 3 firms that ended up coming for. Also, I mean, we had a 240 member batch, so it's not like there was a lot of options that even companies had. Usme se bhi so many people would have gotten offers earlier. So did you like prepare specially for ITC, and why was it so important for you?
Yeah, so like you said, it was one of the few FMCG options that we had. And I was super anxious to the extent that jo bhi company aa raha hai, sabko apply kar do yaar. So I wasn't very picky, but when ITC came in, it was like one of my target organizations to crack. So I had done a lot of research, contacted seniors who were with ITC, learned from them what are the values like, what is it that we need to, what is it that is typically asked in interviews. And and I felt like the interview process was also interesting and was able to crack it.
Tell us about that. So, I mean, in a way, you did manage to get your goal of getting into an FMCG company, after your MBA degree. And, obviously not everybody, but a lot of people in the marketing domain at least used to want to be a brand manager. It was like, agar aap consultant ya banker nahi ho, to fir obviously you want to be a brand manager. Now, of course, that has changed completely with, tech becoming much, much bigger. Did you feel like you had arrived? Were you super happy with your compensation? Did you feel like abhi 3 BHK is not too far away? What was going on in your mind during those days?
I don't know whether I thought that deep about it. I do remember when I got placed, I think somebody poured like half a bottle of Old Monk into me and I was excited. But yeah, I felt like money that I used to earn before MBA, then the salary bracket that I would be into, I was really thrilled. I was like, wow, this is truly what I thought of, and it was in a way one step closer to getting into that, through to that dream. And yeah, to your first question, I was also looking forward to the brand managerial experience, because even when I was in sales at Blue Star, the glamour that just surrounds the marketing teams was something that I was attracted by, but fundamentally also loved the work that the team does, which is more research oriented, understanding user behavior. So was looking forward to it, but I knew that it was only after a few years in sales that I would be able to get the opportunity to become a brand manager. The lives that shaped me as a person was those sales years, because what that stint does is puts you in the middle of a large team, right? I was 24, 25, and I was leading a team of 70 people. And you know, these are people who have spent 10, 12 years on the field doing the work, and then suddenly this person comes in who's just fresh out of college, and then that person is supposed to lead you. So it's a very, very challenging role. So I felt like I learned a lot about myself, learned a lot about leadership as part of that stint.
Performance marketing, e-commerce marketing, content marketing. Is this the world that you see yourself in? If you dream to work in these roles at Hindustan Unilever Limited, here's your chance. Apply to Altiuni's certificate program in digital marketing with HUL. The participants achieved a return of 12 times the investment with an 80% average salary hike. Hurry up! Apply now to the program from the link in the description. Limited seats available.